So recently I saw someone post a picture of two fans taking a photo together with the caption, "Just drew 2-2 to Wolves, this is the new Spurs." The post irked me a bit because why does it matter? Why are you in other people's business? Unless you're just a League of Legends player. It is absolutely zero coincidence, especially with the racial undertones in the tweet, that the reason this was even posted is because these are international fans. Because you never saw a peep about other supporters taking photos, the ones that, live in North London, or, this post by expressions. Like, bro is more mad about some fans capturing a once-in-a-lifetime moment together that they'll cherish for the rest of their lives than the abysmal defending Spurs literally just displayed for a whole 90 minutes. Racism really does blind you, god damn. I know some people will think I'm jumping to conclusions, but I know I'm not because I have seen posts like these constantly throughout last year. At the very beginning of 2024, this photo of a Liverpool fan who had a tripod out to record whatever was happening went viral. And this guy was smart as hell. He could soak everything in while off to the side he can record that special moment and relive it when he gets back home. And somehow people were more angry at him even though in the same photo you could see multiple people on their phones. And every time I see these dumbass posts, they just piss me off because of how ignorant they are. So I've decided today to make a video diving deeper into these issues, the international fans' perspectives, and also just the conflicts in general. And as someone who is an international fan themselves, I want to help people understand our perspective better. Oh, by the way, Happy New Year. It's 2025. I am still not in my place right now. We'll figure it out soon, hopefully. But I wanted to start something in this new year. Something to kind of just allow me to see you guys more as people than numbers, because it is a little difficult in this scene. So I'm going to start sharing photos of what people are eating while they're watching my videos. So, for example, here's this photo of someone eating bunbohui watching my videos. I'll be doing this hopefully every single video, just as long as I actually get submissions. So if you want to have the chance of having your photo feature on the next video, you can post a picture, tag me on Twitter, Instagram, whatnot. Yeah, over the last decade, we have seen the Premier League explode in popularity, especially with the age of social media, which has given way to a lot of new fans all across the world. For the most part, these fans have been embraced by the traditional fans, but the more the international fan base grows, the more we have seen gatekeepers. Just like any gatekeeper, they have this weird sense of authority of determining who is a, quote, real fan and who isn't. But in the case of the gatekeeping football fan, what they mean by real is basically not international. I think in particular this weird behavior comes from the belief that if you aren't from the city or town, you'll never understand the values or history of the club, and I think that's just very ignorant. Just because someone supports a club from 1,000 miles away does not make them less of a fan than your average traditional local fan. And this passion can't be denied. I'd even say that it takes even more dedication to build a strong connection with a club that's 1,000 miles away from you, because you don't have that same sense of belonging as the locals there. And as an international fan, you will never understand how much you've yearned for that until you visit for the first time. Also, these motherfuckers stay up or wake up at the most insane times to watch their team. I'd say that takes quite a bit of dedication. I don't know why I haven't spoken about this until now, but I have always hated when people say, support your local. And I'm just gonna speak on, honestly, my own experiences for this one. I was 9 years old with minimal access to cable, so how I first got exposed to football was through the 2010 World Cup. But after the World Cup, it was kind of a struggle for me to find anything football related. I mean, the sport wasn't very popular in the US back then. And so I had no other choice but to turn to YouTube, football compilations, funny football commercials. Zidane, this is Sparta. For a while, I was kind of a Barcelona fan actually, because I love David Villa and Lionel Messi, but trying to watch a La Liga match in the US with minimal cable was genuinely impossible. However, a couple years later, ESPN started to broadcast some of the Premier League, and one day I decided to tune into a match. I still didn't really have a team at the time, so I just decided, you know what, my favorite color is red, the team on the TV is red, that's my team. And that was Arsenal Football Club. And since then, I've watched this club through thick and thin, and even though I've never been to a game myself, I still see myself as much of a fan as most living in North London. I did actually have the chance to watch Arsenal in person back in 2019. They were touring and coming to Charlotte, but I told myself my first Arsenal match has to be at the Emirates. I'm still working on it. What these gatekeepers will never understand is that in a country where football isn't dominated by thousands of followings, most people are exposed to the sport for the first time through the most popular leagues or forms of media. Most Vietnamese people are Manchester United fans because back in the 2000s, the Premier League was free to broadcast in the country, and it would be shown in every single bar pretty much. And the team that experienced the most success would be shown most of the time. And of course, that was Manchester United. And who's to say that these international fans don't support their local? I mean, I know many people who have an MLS team and a Premier League team. I know people who have a V-League team and a Premier League team. I know people who have a J-League team and a Serie A team, you know? I just... Where did this argument even come from? I've also interacted with tons of people who support a team because of a player on FIFA or a save on Football Manager, which are other popular ways to be exposed to this sport. And you know, you'd be surprised just how deep of a connection you can build through a video game. Shit, there was this guy I met at a college party one time that told me he was a big Crystal Palace fan because he initially thought Crystal Palace was Barcelona. Outside the bubble of influence, there are so many fun stories of how people started supporting a club, and as long as they stick to them, why make such a big deal of it? Now, another really common way people can start supporting a club is when a player from their country signs. The best example is Tottenham becoming the most popular club in South Korea because of Son Heung-min. In fact, in 2020, Nielsen Fan Insights reported that more than 20% of the people in the country support the North London club. And that was 4 years ago. It's definitely much more now. That said, the support from a lot of Korean fans is different because they support Son more than the club itself. They're there for his journey and impact, and this is something the traditional fans aren't all too familiar with, and that can rub them the wrong way sometimes. Which I think can be a little valid, especially the worries that if Son was to leave today, a lot of the fans would also jump ship. But that's not all fans. For a lot of newcomers, Son is the gateway for them to learn and appreciate the culture of the club itself. Unfortunately. And outside of Tottenham, I know multiple Japanese people who are fans of Celtic because of Shunsuke Nakamura, and there's this one guy on Instagram whose gateway into Man United was Park Ji-sung. And now he's got one of the most positive Man United fan accounts, despite literally everything happening right now. But going back to how player supporting fans are there for their hero's journey and impact, a lot of the times it's not just going to be one player. Especially since national pride for one's country is a very strong aspect of the player supporting fan, Koreans in particular also support Min Jae Kim at Bayern, or even players in the same league as Son, like Hwang Hee-chan. And because some Korean fans aren't really familiar with the territorial culture of England, you'll get something like this. Now, I've seen a lot of people laugh at this because, yeah, it is pretty wild, but a lot of people got very angry at this. And like, yeah, I wouldn't go to a game wearing a shirt like this myself, but is it really that big of a deal, man? It's not like she's harming anyone. Like, why give that much of a shit? Now this, though, this I cannot defend, but I think it's still really hilarious. South Korean players supporting fans, though, don't even come close to the American ones. In the US, we have corporations cosplaying as football clubs. We also don't have promotion relegation, if I haven't mentioned that about the 5,000th time on this channel. And these corporations could not give less of a fuck about you. All they're there for is to squeeze as much money out of you as physically possible. So as a result, a lot of American fans don't actually support an MLS team. Instead, they just support the national team. So wherever there's a US international or a promising youngster, our fans will flock towards that direction. And very quickly. And outside the general animosity towards Americans, this really rubs traditional fans the wrong way sometimes. Because as opposed to how concentrated the support is for Korean players at their respective clubs, there's so many US internationals, so the support is scattered all over the globe, and this kind of support can be seen as less genuine by traditional fans. But again, just as I said before, even when those players leave, there will be fans that do end up staying, that do end up finding a bigger appreciation for the club itself. I mean, I've seen American Leeds fans on Twitter in the year 2024, despite the fact that I would say like 90% of the American fan base hates Leeds now. Along with the support your local nonsense though, I've also heard people say you're not a real fan unless you've been to a game, which I think is just equally as ignorant. People who say this have absolutely no clue how hard it is to travel across the damn globe to see a game. There's the thousands of dollars just to fly and book a hotel and all that stuff. Not to mention people may be in school, they might have families, or just in general, they might not be able to afford it. It takes so much time, money, and more to sacrifice just to go to a game, and I can assure you, these fans dream of nothing more than seeing their heroes in person. Look at this Japanese Forest fan. Yes, a Japanese Forest fan who traveled to Nottingham to see his club in person for the first time ever, and you can see how much this shit means to him. There's another argument about how tickets are being taken away from locals, and this just makes zero sense to me. A, they're literally paying exponentially more than your average local fan. B, I don't think people realize just how annoying it is to actually get a ticket as an international fan. And C, these guys aren't just like a bunch of Thogdens, okay? I understand there are those fans that do have all the money in the world that just travel to these games for social media, but I have literally seen domestic fans do the same shit. I will say though, I do agree with the traditionals and the gatekeepers on one thing. And that's the fact that international fans on social media can be a problem sometimes. With the globalization of the game, we see a lot more nonsense being spread across the internet. I mean, this is kind of natural.
Ashraf Hakimi is playing 4D chess.
I can definitely understand the frustrations of the local fans who are basically seeing their club being defamed by international fans that act like they know everything about their club when they probably just watched a couple live streams from Mark Goldbridge or some other sensationalized bullshit. And because a lot of these fans are faceless, there's been an uptick in abusive comments towards players as well. Mostly racism. I'm not saying domestic fans don't do this too, but it's definitely more prevalent amongst international fans. I can also understand that sometimes certain fans, Americans, will overrate their players. And yes, it's really annoying. Also, I've been saying also a lot in this video, sorry. With the globalization of the game, we've seen cult-like followings for rapists like Mason Greenwood. I'm not gonna mention where a lot of those fans come from though. Then you got the fans that communicate their bigoted beliefs literally anytime a club or league posts anything pro-LGBTQ+, despite the fact that some of the clubs they support literally have messages like more than a club and you'll never walk alone. Oh my god, Real Madrid didn't change their profile picture, so based. Go do your homework, man. But not all is bad. Because of social media, it's allowed both international and traditional fans to connect with one another easier, and that's been able to open each side to more perspectives to help us understand one another better. Personally, social media allowed me to feel a belonging to a community that shared the same passion for football, when I didn't have that where I lived. And in general, because I'm such a geography nerd, these communities have expanded my knowledge of the game all across the world.
Alright, I'm done.
I'm gonna finish this off with talking about certain fans being concerned that because of international fans, the atmosphere at the stadiums are getting worse. And I think that concern is both extremely shallow and total bullshit. Because if you really cared that much about your club's atmosphere, or honestly just your club in general, you'd stop crying like a little bitch, judging them from afar like a total creep, and you'd actually do something about it. Start a conversation with them, learn their story, encourage them to join the songs and chants. Act like a normal fucking human being. I don't know why it's so difficult to do that for some people. And yeah, there might be a language barrier, but you know what? Football has always transcended language. Throughout generations. I feel like at the end of the day, and again, it's not everyone, but this whole conflict between international and traditional fans has made me realize that a lot in this community have forgotten what football is at its core. A game that brings us all together. How about that for a first video 2025? Also, yeah, I too hate the thumbnail as well. I really enjoy putting this video together. It didn't really need to take any research, it was literally just me writing about my thoughts, and those are always the most fun videos to do because, as I've said before, I really like the videos that are more personal to me. And I hope that with this video, people can understand our perspectives a bit more. But also, I know the comments section is going to be a war zone, so I can't wait for that. But of course, a massive shout out, and I do need to change this. I will soon update this once I get this video out. But a massive shout out to all our members, including Janos Balas, Chupas, Brazilian Fury, Respect the Jeff, Othman JN, Habakkuk, Jeremiah Owusu Ajimang, Django, Sexy Asian Diddler, Adazir Makalankam, Alex Rod, Ulta, Miguel Munoz. Return Fire, Rory Burns, Slider Kid, Sniffers, Takuoka Fan, The Cypriot 35, Not Windows 95 Man, Kentra Agatra, Big Boris the Baby Eater II, Kerbo, Unkwell, St. Terrence, Sylvia Citrus, Ryan Jans, Wise Orange, Raster Enthusiast, Cocosaurus Rex, LeJames Bronze, Samu, Just MRC, Cheesebait, Kumaruri, The Smalley Pirate, Claymore Roomba, Winder Gel, M4 Dusta, Finn Likes Rugby More, Davox, The Portageyser, TPSK25, Polar Protos, Von Fan, Lucien Von Kreuz, Ethan Bennett Loves Kavicha, Gazegos Breshkiewicz, Monotango Fei, Adrian, A Ghostly Owl, Coney Wolves, Mud Tanai, Nava, Sketchy Card, KM89, Apollo, Kevin Mojica, Chris Visconsi, Dominic Griffin, Kyler Krebs, Mohammed Al-Tanib, Nish, Patrick Barley, Rashford God 5, Raspberry Ale, and Unbroken Persona. If you'd like to become a member of the channel, there'll be a link down below and up in the annotations. You can follow my Twitter if you want, follow my Instagram if you like. You can also follow my Twitch if you want, because I probably will be streaming a bit more now that I will have my own place. But until then, I'll see you guys. Happy New Year.